Hey guys, Matt, IronTrap Garage, and today we're going to work on the old 39 Y-block forgotten hot rod project. So the last video you saw, my buddy Brett and I worked on getting the 39 rolling. We got it in the shop and we kind of went over how crude the motor mounts and the conversion was, and we started taking some things apart, but we didn't get the whole engine out. So what we're going to work on today is getting the car back in the shop. We're going to get it under the I-beam and my chain hoist, and we're hopefully, fingers crossed, going to get the old engine mounts cut out and get the old Y-block out, and we'll see what kind of shape it's in once we get it out. I have a feeling it's probably not in too good a shape, so let's get started. Alright, so last time we got all the major stuff in the front removed, and we got to tackle getting that front engine mount out, and then there's this side engine mount down there. You can kind of see it's a little blurry. And then we got to get all this stuff on the top end off, probably first. This kick-ass air horn, the battery, all that stuff. We got to get all that out of the way because the engine is jammed tight in there, but the goal is to get this engine out of here really soon. Alright, so we got the one motor mount cut. Both of the motor mounts cut in the front here. You can see it just went with the Sawzall and cut through them. The side one there in the back, it's hard to focus, but I cut those as well. And here in the front, they just like twisted some metal together and doubled it up. I'll try and zoom there. And they doubled the metal up, welded it together, and then welded it to the cross member. So even if I unbolted it from the block where they have it bolted, it still would get in the way when we're taking the engine out. So I need to cut through that, take the bolt out, then we can zoom out there. Then we can take the trans bolts out. I think we have everything on the top end all apart, and we can try and lift this sucker out. So we're getting pretty close, but it's just tedious when they welded the motor mounts into the car. You gotta try and carefully cut everything apart without wrecking the car. And that takes a lot of time. All right, so we got the rusty old trans tunnel cover off. And you can see our adapter down in there. I think it's a wheel cap adapters if I'm reading right, but we're going to take the trans bolts out all around there. Now we can get to everything, and we're going to try and leave the trans in and pull the engine and the adapter out. We'll see what happens, but we got to get all those trans bolts out next, and then hopefully we're ready to slide her right out. Part of this problem is going to be this stupid front bracket.
Maybe start separating a little bit.
Did it? Yeah, this front bracket's gonna fight me. It's like pinning itself, you know, because I just cut it. Oh, there we go. Oh shit, that's not even welded. See that? Just moved it. Oh, nice. Like good weld.
Yeah, there's a top weld on this side.
Oh, there we go. Something just happened.
You're gonna be pinching on this hose too. So it's not free on the left side yet. Driver's side.
Hold on, let me go up because I could see the starter or the oil filters on the steering box. Not a very good design there.
There it goes.
There we go. Now I can get around that.
Too far up.
Too far up, huh?
Come down a little now, I think.
I'm just fighting the oil filters like on the steering box.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to get it up. Oh, that was good.
Like I said, just that tack weld on this side.
There's just two little tack mounts in the plate. Man, safety. Hey, big ass piece of iron just fell off.
Yeah, well, now your oil filter's free.
All right, so lesson learned. Remote oil filter for Y block in 39. How would you ever change that filter?
You wouldn't.
They're behind the makeshift firewall. Galvanized. All right.
Again. Don't mean it.
We're clear. Man, I love this chain hoist. Is that it? Yeah. Oh, there's that cover underneath. It's like down and around it. You know what? That flywheel looks really thin. Doesn't it look like it's been lightened? Just looks like there's like nothing to it. Looks like it should have some more meat from the factory. I just don't have anything for a Y block, so I'm gonna make sure. Also wonder about that pilot bearing.
What about
If it's for this conversion. You know what I mean? Damn. With the impact. Oh my god. With a breaker bar, maybe. Impact will do it. Jesus. Half the engine bolts were loose, but the.
Oh, why don't we just put that there, maybe?
Mhm. Anything? Oh, that looks like water.
Oh, it is water.
Ah, that's not a good
I
sign.
don't think you're supposed to put water.
Holy shit!
You can drink that stuff.
That's
It's fine.
that hasn't had oil in it in a long time. Look how clear that water is.
Oop,
Yup.
there's some yuck.
Hey, we found gold. Wow. Yep, there's our oil. Oh, chunks. Oh.
Piece of piston.
Good God. Ugh.
Oh, chunk.
There's definitely more water than oil. All right, so got the engine out and trans is sitting there. We got the clutch pieces all taken off the engine. You can see the masterpiece that is the firewall modification. That's the nicest way I can put it, modification. And our battery tray, which still has some original paint on it where they just cut it and smashed it down. And let's see where our engine mounts were. We cut them off, and there's another one there. There's one there. So all of that stuff is out. The frame is actually surprisingly not too bad. It's just all surface rust. I'm pleasantly surprised there doesn't seem to be any like major rot holes or anything in it. I think since this one was sitting on the stone and not in the swamp per se, like some of the other cars, it fared a little better. So now we're gonna work on getting all the engine bay all cleaned out and get everything we don't need out of there. I'm gonna have to work on figuring out a way to clean up this mess right here. We're still in the deconstruction stage, so I probably won't get too crazy with any of that till we're a little further along with things, but big relief to get this this boat anchor of an engine out. All right, so we got the engine out. The last couple shots was last night. It was really late at night. It was like 11 o'clock when we got finished with pulling the engine and getting the oil pan off, which we need for the conversion because it's notched for the front cross member. And then, of course, all of the clutch and adapter parts, we got all of those off. I really think that flywheel is actually a lightened flywheel. We dropped some shots in. You guys let us know what you think. I'm not a Y-block expert, but that looks awfully thin. So I really do think that it's probably lightened. So this engine, we're not gonna really use much of anything off of it. We have to go get the new engine. I've sourced an engine from a friend out of an older restored 55 T-Bird that was being turned into a street rod. And I basically got a running driving engine that had the heads redone a handful of years ago. We're gonna give them the old Y-block to use for mock-up purposes for another project. And I'm gonna take that engine after paying a little bit of money, and we have a good engine to swap into our 39. Now, the next things that we really need to do on the car is I need to get the old interior out of the car because we need to see how bad that floorboard is. I know we need to replace the floor pans, but I don't know how bad it's gonna be, and I'm on the fence if we need to pull the body or not off of the frame. And once we get all that old interior out and really inspect it, we can kind of make that decision, and that will kind of change the direction of the project. But whatever I do, I'm gonna try and keep it as under control as possible and not make it turn into the free T where it's just down the rabbit hole. Fingers crossed. So that's all I have for this one. I appreciate you guys watching, and if you haven't, definitely hit the subscribe button. We're gonna be doing videos on the whole entire process of taking this old 39 Forgotten hot rod from the junkyard back to on the road, and then we're gonna drive it back to the junkyard to its old grave. We do videos on Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays, and I appreciate you guys following along. Thanks. Catch you later.